So you have the new macro creator and you want to edit an old macro that you've created in the past. There's a few things I want to make sure you've done before you do that. So first off, make sure that the macro that you want to reopen is able to be created within the new macro creator. If there's features that aren't yet available in the new macro creator, it's not going to be available for exporting or importing with the new macro creator. Which unfortunately means if you have a comment on your actual macro that cannot be opened up, that will be lost. You can still open up a macro if that's the only certain difference, but it will not be saved on the macro anymore. Other various custom controls may be lost. I cannot account for everything that could be lost or not be able to be opened, but just for a general idea, if you know you can't create this macro with what you've seen the new macro creator being able to do, you probably can't open it as well. So if you've created the macro in the new macro creator, then it's super easy to reopen and keep editing your macros without a hitch. But if it's old and it's actually something that's not made for the new macro creator, like I said, give it some time before I'm able to actually get all that working. I do want this to be fully functioning in the way that it's going to be able to be used really easily for users, but the issue is I need to actually make it accept any possible thing that a user could throw at it, which could be pretty much anything, because this is code we're talking about here. So give me some time, because it may take a little bit of time to actually get this working right. But anyway, let's open up a macro that we actually know works. In the past few videos, you've probably seen me reopen the flow character rigger. This is me actually just reopening the old macro. So if we open up the new macro creator, which I'm using Resolve Essentials, so I have access to the Fusion hotkeys, and I set up a hotkey just for Shift M to bring up my UI. Now, if you are not familiar with this, the new macro creator did recently get an update to add this new splash screen to quickly open up different methods. Right now, only these actually have serious effects, but these are gonna have different settings pages so you can adjust the settings beforehand to make your life a little bit easier when you're actually exporting and making your macro. But for now, if we were to choose any of these, they're able to do stuff. So if you wanted to quickly open up a macro and get creating it, you can just press enter and it opens up the UI. If we want to just open up a macro really fast, we just press open macro, and we can choose either from the DR macros that we have saved in here, which we can see flow character rigger is here now. But if we were to go into my actual save files for macros, we can see the .setting file right there. And if we open this up, it's going to bring in the nodes. It's going to connect them to the media out, and it's going to start loading in everything. And we can see it's actually pretty freaking fast. We can see it brings in the tabs, the labels, the checkboxes, the controls, everything is here, including the inputs and outputs. And all the nodes are in here too. If we come into here, we'll see that we don't have it selecting things we need it to be selecting. If we come into here and just select controls and drag it over, it's going to auto select that to be the red one, which is what we want now. And everything looks good. And now if we were to change anything, it'd be pretty easy. You're able to either set these all to 0 to quickly edit the labels to make them really easy to mess with, or you're able to do some weird finagling with it to try to make it work. I'm only telling you this because currently reordering is a little bit funny to where you can't take this and move it out, and you can't take this and move it in super easily without changing the numbers. Something to note, if you have a macro that is made before you have the new macro creator, if it wasn't made with this specifically, and you have custom controls like user controls on a bunch of different nodes, it might break because it's going to want all of those controls to be on the controls node. So either the controls node is going to get spammed with a bunch of different custom controls, or in the more likely scenario of you noticing this, if you were to change any of the labels of a custom control, like if you were to change like the label hide number on a custom control that's on a node that's not the selected node in red, it's not going to accept those new changes. But there's just some finicky stuff. If you wanted to, go over here and where it says tool, make sure that this, for any user controls you have, change those all to say the controls node, because then that's going to work correctly with the new macro creator. But when this is actually working how intended, it's just going to look for whatever node is in this slot, and then it's going to update the control on that node instead, just to make it compatible with anybody's work. You can add new controls into this, you can add controls from your tools list. You can even get rid of this, minimize it entirely down to that shrunk version, add nodes into this, remake this bigger, and we can even come into here and refresh this to add in those new nodes. and it will reselect all of our inputs and reselect all of our outputs, and you'll just have the new nodes in there to add in the new controls. Super quick and easy. But that's going to cover it for opening up macros and editing them super quickly after the fact. Really only use macros that were made with the new macro creator unless you want to try it out. It wouldn't hurt to test. You can have either no comp in here or the original comp that you made with this final export. If the nodes don't match the nodes within the actual file, there could be an issue with exporting because the controls wouldn't match what they're actually needing to be. But that does it for this, finally. I will see you guys in the next one. Happy animating.